Good afternoon. My name is Linda Besmer, and my partner, I'll let him introduce himself.
Good afternoon. I'm Carl Franklin. I'm Linda Besmer's coworker, and we're excited to bring you a myON overview this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Carl. And I'm going to start with PowerPoint presentation, and I'm going to actually move from the PowerPoint over into the live program. There is a link in the chat for today's presentation that's in a Google Drive. That's a PDF of today's presentation. And I will be sending Melissa, Julia, and Joyce the recording for today's presentation along with the PDF. And that way, if you need a refresher or there's someone who's not able to be here today, they'll have all of those resources. We do have a Google Drive that's a shared drive, and we'll put all of the resources for this summer in that drive so that it's always accessible to all of you. If you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to either take yourself off mute. And I know we've got all of the elementary folks in one group. So certainly, again, you can put information in the chat, and Carl's going to be helping me by monitoring the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and start our PowerPoint. Let me just, oh shoot. I have to see if I can, there we go. Get it into slideshow mode here. Perfect. Carl, are we good on the visual? Okay, great, thank you. We wanted to begin, we've done the introductions. I wanted though to cover or to show you what we're going to be covering today. We're going to show you a little bit about the student view of myON and what your students will see the very first time that they log in to the myON program, because it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to talk about the Teachers College Readers and Writers Program interface, and we're so excited that you all will have the opportunity to use the TCRWP interface with virtual collections. It really is just phenomenal. We did some professional development this morning with Katie ISD with all of their instructional specialists, just making sure they knew how to use that TCRWP interface and assign content. So it really is a very exciting piece. We've set up a hands-on teacher account for you so that you can get some experience with the TCRWP interface, and then also a student account. We're going to talk about the literacy tools that are available for students to use, and teachers can actually see what students are doing as they're marking up their books and content. And then we do have a free app for offline reading, so that if students are in a position where they are not going to have internet access, perhaps they're going on a family vacation, or students don't have stable internet access at home, students can go any place where they have internet access. They can download books into that free app and actually read the books offline without internet access. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit. And then we do have some special summer resources for educators. So that's our agenda for today. But we wanted to start with the Spring Branch ISD Reading and Writing Bill of Rights, and we know that it fits very strongly with the initiative that you all have as far as the Teachers College Readers and Writers Program. The myON program actually provides thousands of high-interest authentic texts. The myON Basic Collection that you will have access to has over 6,700 titles. 70% of those titles are nonfiction and informational text, about 30% fiction, and the goal overall is about 10% of those books are Spanish and or bilingual text. So that's the design of the library. We've also, again, you're going to have the ability to use that readers and writers with virtual collections, which will simulates the environment that your students would have in the classroom, being able to actually pull a book bin that has books that are at an appropriate reading level that fit that genre or that content. In addition, Carl and I have put together a series of projects that are in the myON cloud that fits some of the units of study. And when you go through your professional development in June, the consultant that's going to be doing that presentation and that professional development can focus in a little bit more on the project environment and how to access those projects. We're not going to get into that today. As far as readers and writers need teachers to read aloud to them, we know just the benefit of being read to, and even as adults, many of us love to be read to. Try and embarrass Carl too much. Carl and I are actually married. And way back when, before digital books, we both love science fiction and the horror genre. And we used to save up our pennies and we'd buy a Stephen King hardback book and we read at different rates. It would get aggravating to have one of us be ahead of the other when it was hard to have the discussion. So what we decided that we would do is every night we'd get into bed and we would read to each other. So we'd each read a couple of chapters. So that's how we made our way through The Stand and several other books. And again, I think many of us as adults still love to be read to, and we know how important it is for students to hear the written language. One of the wonderful benefits of myON is that all of the titles in the basic collection do include human-read narration. The company actually hired professional voice actors and actresses to perform the books, and the books are read at the rate at which a fluent reader would read the content. There is a whole series of reader scaffolds and supports, so readers can speed up or slow down the narration if they need to do that. So that's a wonderful assist. We know that students need opportunities to talk and write in response to texts, and there are opportunities to do that. myON has a book review component, so students can actually rate books and write in response. One of the tools in our literacy tools is the student journal. And students can stop and jot as they are reading in their student journal and have those notes to refer to. Another literacy tool is a component called sticky notes. So students can actually put sticky notes right in their copy of the text, just like you might have them use a Post-it or sticky note in a physical book. So we provide lots of opportunities for students to have both that reading and writing experience, because we know that reading and writing happen together and need to be taught together, that they're so intertwined, we can't really separate them out. We know that readers need to read increasingly complex text appropriate for their grade levels, and that they need the support for reading nonfiction and building knowledge base and their academic vocabulary. And myON does provide, again, we've got that heavy focus on nonfiction and informational text. There is a built-in dictionary so that if students do have difficulty with any of the words, they can actually access that online dictionary to get definitions. And we know that learners need clear goals and frequent feedback tailored to them. They need to hear ways that their reading and writing is getting better and know what their next steps might be. You will, as a teacher, have the ability to actually review student journals so you can see what they've written in their journals. We do have an essay writer if you want students to actually be doing their writing about the books in myON. Right within the myON platform, there is an essay writer so that you can actually, in the project environment, you can have students read books or read a selection of books and then actually write in response to that. And again, there are all kinds of things like writing checklists, graphic organizers, all sorts of tools that go with that essay writer. And of course, we talked a little bit about the annotations and the ability for students to actually put sticky notes directly in the text. So all of that to say, that was very long-winded, but all of that, I hope that you can see that we do support your work, and that the myON program will actually support and fit very nicely in with your reading and writing Bill of Rights and the way that you're teaching within Spring Branch ISD. Are there any questions? We good, Carl? Okay, I saw a thumbs up. Okay, perfect. The first thing that we wanted to cover is that when the very first time that students log into myON, they are going to see a survey, and that interest survey actually is designed to have students express the kinds of books that they like to read. Carl and I are both librarians by profession, and we would call this kind of thing reader's advisory. And that's when a librarian might sit down with a student who's trying to find a book to read. What books have you read that you like? Or do you like stories about? And tell me more about the kinds of things that you like to read. Your students may need a little assistance, especially younger students, in working their way through this. I'm sorry, my watch has decided to talk to me. Something I said sounded close enough to SIRI, so I apologize. The pre-K through 5 interface, you'll see that students have smiley faces for the different categories, and they can show that they either or dislike by clicking on the face that matches their self-professed interest. And the categories in the older student interface, again, there are 5 buttons, and the student can simply click on the button, dislike all the way up to like very much kind of thing. The student also has the opportunity to select the language. The default is English, but students can actually select Spanish as their preferred language. So again, these are things that you may need to help guide, especially the younger students, where it says, I think there's one of them that actually says genres in it. It can be a little confusing. The default, if students do not move any of the smiley faces or move any of the buttons, the default is just straight down the middle. And what this affects is the myON program does have a recommended book wall, and that's just it'll be based on the grade level and then the self-expressed interests. Of course, we know that you're going to be assigning the virtual collections to students based on the assessments that you are doing. Again, I just wanted you to see what your students will see. And we can take a look at that when we go into the myON program. I do want to show you what the interface looks like, though, for the TCWRP interface. So we are going to leave the PowerPoint and go take a look at that. And then there are some resources within the Renaissance platform that are also available to you. So I want to make sure that you'll be able to see those. So I'm going to share a different screen now, which will be this one. And let's see. So I will try this. And Carl, you may need to remind me the button for the audio if the audio doesn't show, if you can't hear the audio.
Renaissance has recently partnered with Lucy Collins and the Teachers College Reading and Writing Program to offer a special version of myON for existing TCRWP.
We really can't hear the audio.
Okay. So let me look for that button, share sound. Okay, let me try that again. And I'll also, I think it's up as high as it will go.
Renaissance has recently partnered with Lucy Calkins and the Teachers College Reading and Writing Program to offer a special version of myON for existing TCRWP partner schools. This view in myON, called the Teachers College Virtual Collections, provides a similar book browsing experience to the one the project enables through its Print Classroom Libraries product. These virtual collections each correspond to a range of F&P levels and are organized into bins on topics of interest, so students can shop for books effectively. Let me show you what students and teachers will see. Students will have a new button in their library called TCRWP. Teachers will assign a collection to each student for this area to populate, giving teachers control over what content a student sees here. In the roster area, teachers will choose the collection with the range of F&P levels they feel is most appropriate for each student. This option can be changed at any time. Once that assignment happens, the student will see book bins containing books at their just right reading level. This is another great way to nudge students in the right direction for optimal growth while still giving them choice over what they read. Please reach out to learn more about our additional TCRWP Premium myON Core Plus collections, and thanks for watching.
And I know that was a very quick little video. The other piece, and again, there's a link for this in the presentation, is the Renaissance has actually designed then a whole series of help screens So this goes through literally step by step how you would actually go in and assign collections to individual students. And so you have this help available as well. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to go back and share my PowerPoint slide. And we're going to go to our next screen. And here is our teacher hands-on. Those of you that do have a laptop with you and have access, what you'll want to do is go to www.myon.com. And I'm going to do this in just a moment. And again, this will be in the presentation. If you type in NYC under school name, we want you to select NYC Project Elementary Demo from the drop-down list. Our teacher name is Year, Y-E-A-R, and the password is myON. And then you'll just click the sign-in button. Your teachers, when you have access in May, they're going to be logging in through the district's single sign-on. So we have that all set up. So what I'd like to do is, for those of you that do have computers with you and are able to log in, I'm going to go back to here, and we're going to go to NYC, and we're going to go to Project Elementary Demo. Our username is Year. Our password is myON, and passwords are case sensitive, so you want to make sure that you use all lowercase. And then if you click the green sign-in button, this is our classroom. When you click on Library, you'll see TCRWP Collections as a tab. And when you click on that, I actually have this set up, and I'll show you how you can see where your teacher collection is set. What you do is you go over by your avatar and click on the avatar. And then if you click on user info, at the very bottom, you can see assign TCRWP collection. And you can select a TCRWP collection. And when you go ahead and select that and save it, when you go back to library and then TCRWP collections, this is exactly what your student is going to see. So you have now set your teacher interface so that you can see exactly those same choices that your student will have. If I wanted to assign this to my demo student, the demo student that you'll have available to you his name is James Gumshoe. And so we'll come down to James. Oh, right here. And all we need to do is click in front of his name. We're going to select an action, and we want to assign TCRWP collection. And then when I click on my Select a Collection button, I can now select a specific range, or again, these are the virtual collections, so I can select what is appropriate for James. I'm going to assign James C, D, E, F, and it says, are you sure that you want to assign that collection? I'm going to say yes. And now I'm going to go ahead and log out as my student. And I'm going to log out as my teacher. I'm sorry. I'm going to log in as my student, and his username is Gum and his password is Gum. We kept it very simple. And now when James Gumshoe logs in and goes to library and then TCRWP collections, these are the same 284 books that you just had the opportunity to preview as a teacher. And again, you can see that the student would have the opportunity to simply click And here are the books that are part of Everyday Adventures. Let me stop sharing that screen. I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint real quickly. And again, here are my teacher login directions. My student hands-on, again, this is all in the PowerPoint. So we wanted to make sure that you have the opportunity to try these out for yourselves and just explore more. We do have a spreadsheet that's available, and I'll put that in the Spring Branch shared drive. And that actually has a list of all of the books that are part of the TCRWP collections so that you can see specific titles and which of the virtual collections that title falls into. So I think it's something like 4,300 of the 6,700 books that are in the myON library right now are part of the virtual collections. Are there any questions about that piece? We good? I wanted to show you a little bit about the literacy tools, and I'm going to go ahead and go into the live program. There is a link available, and again, we do have that link will be embedded right in the PowerPoint. I'm going to log out as a student there. I'm actually going to go into my Muses 3 demo school, and I'm going to log in as my elementary student. And here's my grade 3 student. And we'll just take a look, for simplicity's sake, we'll take a look at this book called Ladybug. And this is the life story of a ladybug. And you'll see, I want to show you a little bit about the reader interface, or the book reader component. You'll see there's a play button, there's a speaker button. You can see the page number. You have a forward and backward. You have this button that looks like a belt buckle, to me anyway, and that actually shows me where I am in the book, so that if my teacher wanted me to go to page 9, even if I haven't gotten to that page yet, if we're doing a book study or word study and we're using this particular book, I can go to a specific page on demand. So we'll go back over to here, and then there is a magnification, and this allows the student to actually magnify the text up to 400%. So we want to make sure, especially with graphic novels and text that might be smaller, again, that every student can get that to a size that's good for them. And of course, with iPads where you can pinch and zoom, you might not need that, but with other devices, the magnification tool is great. And then this button actually gives you that whole screen approach. What I'd like to do is actually go ahead and move into the book, let you hear the human read audio, where we'll just read this one page aloud. Let me fold that back down.
What is a ladybug? A ladybug is a type of animal called an insect. Insects are animals with 3 pairs of legs and a body with 3 main parts. Many insects have wings.
And the student can listen to that as many times as they would like. And again, I'm logged in as a student. The settings button lets me actually modify the audio speed. If I wanted to slow that down, I can. If I don't want to see the sentence highlighting, or I don't want to see the words highlighted as they're being voiced, again, I can simply click that off if that's distracting to me. And again, students don't have to play the audio. That's always there as a choice. The student can also decide, do they want this navigation bar on the left-hand side of their screen, or do they want it on the right-hand side of their screen? And particularly for students that are left-handed, it might be more advantageous for them to have that accommodation to actually have the buttons on the other side of the screen. The Other Pages button actually lets the student explore if there are other pages that are included in the book. I neglected to mention that every book in myON has a physical book equivalent. So this is a virtual library, but the content has gone through the full editorial process. And there actually is a physical book. I know many of your school libraries will have those copies of those books, but they're books that could be ordered from Amazon or directly from Capstone. So again, all of the books in myON are books, and as such have all the same materials that are included in the print books. So there's a table of contents, there's a glossary, find out more. Sometimes there are writing prompts included with many of the books. And then there's also going to be an index. So the student has access to all of that content as well. There's also a dictionary, and if at any point in time I have a word I don't understand, I can simply click on the word. I can view it in the dictionary. I can listen to the word.
Insect.
Or the pronunciation. Unfortunately, the definition of the word is not read aloud. We don't provide that assist. And then the literacy tools are really very cool. So there are a whole series of tools. There is a paintbrush, and the student can actually select the color that they want to use. So I'm going to use the red paintbrush, and I'm going to circle this. And I can use my sticky notes and actually put a note, because I think this is grass. So I think the ladybug is actually on the grass. So I'm identifying that. I also have emojis for text coding. And that allows me then, this might be something that's of interest to me. This might link to something that my teacher has said, or it links to other work that I'm doing. This might be something I want to mention to a friend. This is something I want to learn more about, so I'm going to investigate it more. I love ladybugs, and I love the fact that the ladybug's on the blade of grass, or I don't know is this a blade of grass or is this something else? This is just a picture that makes me smile. This is something that's important, or oh my gosh, I didn't know this. So again, you and your students, we have one district in the area, and the students actually use another program called, I think it's called Think Notes or something like that, for text coding. And the students actually designed the crosswalk between the emojis in myON and the other program that they use. So the students actually came up with the crosswalk of this is the equivalent to this in our other piece. So again, you can use those in any way that it makes sense for you. But I'm going to go ahead and, as a colleague of mine says, I'm going to put a pin in it. And when you click on that Post-it note just goes away, but this little icon is here to show me that I still have that Post-it note. I can also highlight text. Maybe we're working with important ideas or nouns and verbs, and I can go ahead and I can highlight things in different colors. So again, my highlighter lets me go in and do that. I also have shape tools. And gosh, the green doesn't stand out very well, but the purple does. So I can go in and I can, again, use a shape tool. I also have arrows, so I can actually connect my picture of the ladybug with the word ladybug. And where this is important, I know that you all also use universal design for learning for students, especially special needs students. And often we may have students that may not be able to articulate or be able to say, yes, I know what the word is ladybug, and I know that's the picture of the ladybug. And for some of our younger students, again, letting the student express that knowledge and show you that they understand that concept using other modes of communication is really very important. And myON can accommodate that, again, with the literacy tools. I have an eraser, so if there's something I don't like, I can go ahead and erase it. I can put things in the trash can. I also have my journal. So my journal lets me do several things. I can have as many notes in here as I'd like. This does let me put in the citation so that I can look at the book that I'm in. I can also say, gosh, I'm going to be reading about ladybugs. So I can put that in here so I know. If I copy text, all I need to do is go in and highlight. Okay, I need to use my highlighter, Carl.
What you'll want to do is have that open, that journal open, Linda, yep. So then use that icon with the note card with the plus.
Thank you.
And then select your text.
And then I can go down and copy. So it puts the text that I highlighted and copied right in my journal for me. And then it also puts the citation in so I know where that has come from. And then as a student, I can go in and add my own note. I don't know if I'd know blade of grass, and that was something that I had remarked on earlier, that ladybug is actually on grass. So again, these are things that, again, the student can stop and jot at any point in time. They can, if they need a new note, all they need to do is click, and now they have an untitled note. So a student can have multiple notes, a note for each book that they're reading, and the books can be obviously,
Most ladybugs are less than half an
can be covering different subject areas. Are there any questions about the literacy tools? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and, oh
just
yes,
a
ma'am.
second, Linda.
All right, Linda and Carl, did you talk about, I don't know, and I'll be the first one to say, about how the teachers can go in and see where the notes are?
Yeah, the teachers being able to view the notes and the notes remain in place.
Can you show them that?
Will you show that, please?
Yes, I'll log in as the teacher and show you how you can see what students have written and see the students' mark, okay?
Thank you. We're all in love with this, by the way. We're very excited.
Wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and log out as my student now. I got out of the book. I'm going to go ahead and log out as my student. Now I'm going to log in as my teacher. And when I log in as my teacher, I have my third grade student and I have my middle school student. And if I want to see what students have been doing, and a couple of things. So when I go over here, I do have my students that are actually assigned here. And so these two students are part of my class. What I can do is to see those markups that we just talked about. I'm going to go into the library and I'm going to search, and I'm actually going to search for that book on ladybugs. So I'm going to pull up my teacher copy of the book. And let's see, this is my teacher copy of the book. So I'm just going to click on read. And now when I click read as a student, which is over here, it pulls up my student roster. This little symbol is the symbol for the tools. This lets me know that my third grade student has markups in their book. When I click on this, now I'm in the student's copy. You are viewing a book as Spring Branch Grade 3 demo. So now I can go through and I can see the work that my student did here. I can also click on the student's journal, and here is the note that the student has put in the journal. As a teacher, I can click on the tools. I can pick up a sticky note. And when the student logs back in now, the student is going to see, here's my teacher always uses the yellow sticky. Here's a note from my teacher in my book. And literally then, if I return, all I need to do, now I'm back in my teacher copy of the book. But again, all I would need to do is click on read as student, and I'd be able to see that my middle school student hasn't done any markups in their copy of the book. So you would have your entire student roster here, and you literally would be able to go down and you'll have this notation again if the student has markups. So this is a very easy way, and you can see that if I do click on read as student and click on the journal, if the student had multiple notes here, I would be able to look at any of the notes that the student has on different books. So we have a school district that we work with where as students read for half an hour every evening. Part of their assignment for that at-home reading is to actually provide some of their reflections and notes in their myON journal. And whether they're reading on myON or they're reading a newspaper or a magazine or a physical book, they keep their notes in the student journal. And it's a very easy way then for the teachers to go in and monitor the student reflections on their reading.
Linda, can I ask a question? You gave the teacher Post-it note back to the student. How does the student know that you've responded as the teacher? Do they get any kind of notification, or do they have to go back into the book, or what?
They would have to go into the book. There's not any type of notification, unfortunately. So there's nothing for that. But if you're doing word study in a particular book, and that's the book that this group of students is working in, then they'd be working with that book intensively. And again, if the teacher is saying, I'll use the yellow sticky note and you guys have the 4 other colors available to you, again, that would help the student see that, gosh, that's a note from my teacher.
Thank you. And it sounds like the journal is something that the kids can access outside of the tools, right?
Yes, so the student can access the journal right here. It's always in this right-hand nav bar. So the journal is there. If the teacher has assigned a writing activity that the student is going to be doing in the myON essay writer, the student has that book available, and then the books that they might have read in myON to complete that writing assignment. The student is also going to have their student journal available that they can go back and cut and paste information from their journal and bring it into the essay writer. So those tools are all part of the interface.
Linda, I just wanted to ask a quick question too, and it sounds like you might have answered, but do students have access to this 24/7, or is it just within the school hours?
Oh no, this is 24/7. So this is anytime, anywhere. And when we get to the offline reader, that's part of the whole purpose, is that we want to make sure that students have access before school, during school, after school, on the weekends, over the summer, and even when they don't have internet access. And that's the whole beauty of that offline reader. Now, I will say, I just want to make sure when we get to the offline reader, these pieces, the dictionary, the tools, the journal, are not going to be available in that offline reader. That free app for offline reading means you're not connected to the internet. So the dictionary, the tools, and the journal are all internet based, and the students' writing and those kinds of things, those are all stored over on the myON side. So there's not a heavy lift for the district IT department. It's not an additional burden on the district to have to store all of that content. But it does require that internet connection. Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to stop sharing that, and I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. All right. So now we're going to talk about the app for offline reading. It is available on any device that has the Chrome browser. It's available on iPad, so there is an iPad app. It's available on Android and on the Kindle Fire HD. So again, for Android and the Kindle Fire HD, it'll be in the Google Play Store. With Chrome, again, it's an app. So what this does is it allows the student to actually download up to 20 books onto a virtual bookshelf. And the student can then log in using, because you all have, Clever does not store passwords. And so let me go back to, hang on. Clever does not store passwords. There is in the upper right-hand corner between the student's avatar and the X for the exit button, there's a little tablet when you're logging in with Clever. And this actually has a PIN. The PIN is only used the very first time the student logs in, and it links the offline user account to the student's full myON account. And that way we're able to preserve all of the reading records for the student. So again, what the student will be able to do is go ahead and use that PIN to log in. Once they're in the app, they can go in and search for books. They can download a book to their virtual bookshelf. They have the ability to read those books at any time. And again, they'll have that human read audio component. They won't have the literacy tools or the journal. When the student is finished with a book or wants to return a book, what they would do would be they would need to log back into the internet, whether it's in the parking lot of a school or at McDonald's or any other place with internet access. They'll log back into their app. When they go to return a book, all of the accounting in terms of they finished that book and that how much time the student has spent reading, all of that information gets uploaded to the student's full myON internet account. So you can see that the student read that book. They may not have been connected to the internet, but again, you'll still have all of that tracking and all of that information available. If you have students that are sharing a device, children in the same family sharing a device, that bookshelf, that virtual bookshelf only holds 20 books. So if Linda puts her 20 books on there and Carl goes to grab that iPad and goes to log in, all he's going to see, even though he's logging in with his account information, he's going to see Linda's 20 books, but he can return some of my books and get other books out. But again, that virtual bookshelf on a device does have that limit of 20 books. So for children that are sharing a device in the same family, there is that limitation. So I wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. Let's see. The next slide actually has our summer reading kit. And I'll just show you what that looks like. So there is a link for this, and it has a whole series of resources that are available to you. You'll see different flyers, web badges, letters to families, both in English and in Spanish, and those are letters that you can modify. The family activities handout is really very cool. And then login cards and goal sheets. Let me show you the family activities handout. I think that was on page 7, but you can see, oh, yikes. I wonder why. I'll have to go back and see what's wrong there. Let me see if when I go in and download that again, that fixed our problem, or we're still stuck. Yep, here we go. So here are family activities, both in English and in Spanish. When I click here, then I can actually see these are series of activities and books. So rediscover your family, community, exploring other cultures and countries, foods, movies, books. So again, just some ideas where again, families can actually read together and share some of those books together. And again, that is available both in English and in Spanish. Are there any questions on that resource? Okay. And then I did want to show you, and I have a link for this as well. One of the other things that Carl and I do is every month we publish on our Muses 3 website under our M3 resources. We have a monthly calendar and then activity packs. So the monthly calendar is going to actually show you a book, and you'll have a book for every day of the month. And that book is tied to something that's happened on that day. So unfortunately, we had the Texas City disaster was something that happened on April the 16th. And you can see here's a book about big machine rescue. So again, some folks will use this as a warm up every day, that here's a book in myON that's tied to this particular day. So this is a PDF that's available to you that you can download. And then we do have an activity pack. I'll show you the Earth Day one since April Fool's Day has come and gone. And again, these will typically, the books will usually start at the pre-K level and will go all the way, sometimes up through grade 12. Here are some QR codes for different places in Texas, and we keep these as Texas-centric as we can. I think Carl does a marvelous job of doing that. So here you can see Earth Texas, Solar Farm, and again, these are books that would support Earth Day. Every book in myON has an individual URL. So that's another way that sometimes, depending on your LMS and how you're making student assignments, you can actually cut and paste a URL that a student would click on, and as long as the student is logged into myON, when they click on that URL, it'll take them directly into the book. And then Carl's included a QR code for each of the books as well. So we've gone in and just curated content that are appropriate and fit Earth Day. I'll skip ahead here, but you can see we're up into grade 6. Some of them, again, it depends on the topic, whether or not, so some of these are going to go up into grade 9. We always have activities at the end of the activity pack. So here's a coloring page for younger students. And then we do always have a word search with the answers, and then a crossword puzzle with the answers. So every month we put these out. Every month we'll have at least 2 activity packs. So you can see here for March, we had Texas Independence Day in spring. February, we actually had 3 activity packs. So we always keep the current month and the past 2 months on the website, and we do these 12 months a year. So these are additional resources that will be there available to you. I'm going to go back and catch up with my PowerPoint. Yep. We covered that. And then we wanted to make sure you knew where you could get help. So there is a toll-free number. And again, this is going to be in that PDF that you're going to get. There is also email support, and both Carl and myself are available as well. We are your project managers for Spring Branch, so we'll be helping you with any other kinds of things. And so here is our information, and I'll go ahead and put this in the chat, just so that you have Carl's and my and then our phone number. And we are local. We're right in Cypress, so we're very close to you all. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. Are there any questions that anybody has, or anything that you like clarification or elaboration on?
Linda and Carl, we are just really excited. Everybody is just ready to dive in and explore. And we truly appreciate the multiple meetings you've had with us and how you've worked to make this happen.
Welcome to myON, everyone, and we look forward to seeing.
We hope you love the program as much as Carl and I do. As librarians, the first time we saw this, we just looked at each other and said, oh, they have to let us help them with this. They have to help them share this program because it brings so many books into the hands of children, and to have them always there is just phenomenal.
And we can touch base with the middle school folks as well. Are there any questions from that side of the spectrum?
It doesn't look like it, but we just want to again say thank you so much, Carl and Linda. We really look forward to using it, and I think the kids will be excited to really get some great books that are digital that they can use. So it's great. Thank you.
Thank you both sides for joining us today, and we really welcome any questions you might have, and don't be afraid to send us a text or an email about anything that you might want to investigate.
Thank you so much. We hope you'll have a great weekend.
You too.
Thank you all too.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.